you for joining us here for Wave News at 4. I'm Dawn G. Today, crews are surveying a lot of damage from a series of strong storms that rolled through Kentucky and southern Indiana last night. The storms triggered tornado warnings, dropped large hail, toppled trees, just brought down power lines. LG&E's map shows more than 10,000 are still without power at this hour. The National Weather Service confirms an EF2 tornado struck Cecilia, Kentucky, in Hardin County last night. A survey team determined top wind speeds there to be 115 miles per hour. Back in Jefferson County, downed trees were blocking roads and down power lines left thousands of homes without electricity. Wave News reporter Sean Bowdy shows us why more than 100 families were trapped in their subdivision.
The storms stretched far and wide, and tall, seemingly invincible trees fell victim to high winds. In Linden, widespread damage.
This is all alive.
This homeowner just got parts of this tree chopped off earlier this year out of fear that it would fall. They had plans to take the whole tree out next year, but Mother Nature took care of that for them. Down the street, this house is having to remove yet another tree from their roof. I say another because back in 2019, part of the same tree fell, destroying their roof. They had to pay for a new one. Then here on Orsby Lane, down trees, a down power line blocking the only entrance and exit for more than 100 homes in the Sycamore Creek subdivision. This tree was among the casualties in this area. You can see how big it was relative to me. Malik Diallo lives on this street and decided he wasn't missing work, so he walked.
There's people watching, telling people, no, you can't get out, you can't get out, because, every now and then you see somebody who's going to drive the car and see if now the street is open or not. So I did it earlier and understood that it was not going to happen. So, yeah, I got my hand and I'm walking to it today.
Diallo says his kids are staying with their aunt for a few days until they can get power back and their cars out of the neighborhood. In Louisville, Sean Bowdy, Wave News.
French Lick, Indiana, in Orange County was hit by what some describe as baseball-size hail. Glass panels of the iconic atrium at the West Baden Springs Hotel were damaged. Look at that. When we stopped by today, crews were on the dome-shaped roof making repairs. That right there is a car that was parked outside. It had its back windshield shattered. From the inside, you can actually see the cracks and holes in the glass of that dome in West Baden. It's the prettiest thing you've ever seen. Look at all the shattered glass of the cars. We're going to hear from people who were at the hotel when the storm hit, ahead on Wave News at 5 and 6. Look at that. It's such a historic place, a beautiful place. They do all they can to just make sure that history is preserved. And look at the sky today. You would never know what a mess it was. Brian Good joining us there. Brian, I was telling you, I'm such a meteorologist, right? I saw clouds last night, and there are many of us out in Southwest Louisville that look like little buns in the sky, like little rows of buns in the sky.
Yeah.
And then the thunder rolled on for 15 minutes, it sounded like, without stopping. Like, I've never heard that before in my life.
Pretty concept. Well, first off, the balloons you described, those little
puffy things.
Puffy things, those are mammatus clouds, and they are rare, and they are a sign of hail or a tornado. When you see those in the sky, so they're usually a good indicator of turbulence. So we've seen them before, but usually you only see them on bad days. So I'm not surprised I saw them as well, but they really stand out, especially as you get closer to sunset. They really stand out. The good news is we're kind of beyond that point, which is good, but we do have an active radar to the north of us right now. 84 degrees in Louisville at the moment. You can see a lot of cumulus clouds all over the place here, but these are not severe. That's important to note. These are just showers. In fact, there's no lightning being detected, but there are quite a few of them. So these are just enough to be annoying as you're trying to clean things up, and then suddenly a downpour comes on by. It's only going to last maybe 5 minutes, and then it's over, but you may get another one. So just be aware of that. These are heat-based, so they're only going to last another 2 hours at best. And then once we get into sunset, they will fade away. Most of them are in Indiana, along 71, but one or two are trying to form in the metro all the way towards Shelbyville and Simpsonville. So the rain chance, it is there this evening, but it's gone as we head toward midnight. More on how severe thunderstorms are likely to return in just a few more days. Coming up in a few more minutes, Don.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, we'll be listening in closely. We thank you for that. No, we weren't the only ones to get hit by severe weather Sunday. A tornado blamed for one death in Martin County, Indiana. A second person there had to be airlifted to the hospital. And in the South, they're dealing with brutal triple-digit heat. NBC's Priscilla Thompson is in Houston, where the heat wave continues.
Well, this marks the third straight week of a historic heat wave that is sweeping across the Southwest and Central Plains. We are expecting more than 80 heat records to be shattered this week as we see triple-digit temperatures across the South and especially here in Texas. We know that over the weekend on Friday evening, tragically, a 14-year-old boy died while he was hiking in Big Bend National Park, where authorities there say the temperatures reached 119 degrees, and then his stepfather rushed off to get help in a car and was found dead, having crashed.
If you are staying here at home for the holidays, well, there is a lot that will be going on for the 4th of July. We invite you to come out and enjoy the Riverview Independence Festival. Wave is a proud sponsor of Saturday's event at Riverview Park on Greenwood Road. The event will start at 5 o'clock. Fireworks will start at 10. It is a free, family-friendly event with live music, kids' activity. There's a splash park. There's also food and drinks for purchase. That is my end of town. I welcome you to come on down. I'll be there. We have a really good time when you're there. You're considered family. So I hope you'll be there. Brian Good, outside. Is it like hot out there, or is it pleasant? It was pleasant earlier.
It's not bad, but you certainly feel the humidity. I will say that. But it's not as bad as yesterday was, and certainly not as bad as it's about to get. So we're kind of in that little in-between. I don't want to say Goldilocks zone, but about as close as we're going to get for this week. With all the rain we've had lately, I at least want to mention on the allergy report, we are going to see a big spike here on the grass pollens. You can see it shooting up there tomorrow on Wednesday. Perhaps some of the highest levels of the season so far, actually, will be showing up. So keep the allergy meds close by. The grass has had a lot of fuel here lately, so it's going to go wild. Now, tonight, it's going to have to get a little more help, a little more downpour action showing up on the radar, even an isolated thunderstorm possible as we did this afternoon here before they fade away later tonight. Keep it on the way for other app for any brief heavy rain alerts or even lightning alerts that could still take place. You could scan that QR code and download the weather app for free right now onto your device there. All right, it's 86 here to the weather garden. So, again, humidity has gone up a bit, so it feels like 89. That's the reason why it's doesn't feel great, but I'll be complaining about a heat index over 100 in just a few days, so I'm not going to complain too much about 89. 84 officially at the airport, by the way, 82 into Jeffersonville. With temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s. Okay, the first round of storm surveys are coming in, so I want to run through some of these reports we're getting. I'll take you first into Bullitt County. This is going to be the straight line wind damage that we had around the Shepherdsville area. 90-mile-per-hour winds plus were recorded into that zone, and then you get down toward areas of Hardin County. EF2, that's the only tornado so far we've been able to confirm. That's in Cecilia, just south and west of E-Town. Our own David Mattingly is looking at that damage today. We'll let you know more on that coming up here on Wave News. And this is just now starting to show up. A few reports of straight line wind damage right there on the...
Coming up, communities are recovering after weekend storms hit the region. We'll have what's next for those working through the aftermath. And businesses and public spaces are closed following the storms, what the repair time looks like, and more next on WBKO News at 4.
From WBKO News. Local, first, now. This is WBKO News at 4.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on WBKO News at 4. I'm Gene Burke.
And I'm Dana Money in for David Walter.
You certainly are. You were here late last night for the storms.
Absolutely. We had quite a few storms impacting the region last night. David and I were here until almost 2 a.m. keeping you informed.
And we all appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. So many of us saw those storms last night impacting our region until late last night. Strong damaging winds were definitely a factor last night. A lot of downed trees as we looked throughout the region this morning. a lot of damage to deal with as we woke up.
But things are looking better for the week.
Yes, things are looking a lot better for the week. Lots of great pictures coming in today. That's a picture of the lightning last night. Thank you, Brandy from Logan County, Kentucky, for sending that in last night. A lot of great shots sent in last night. So once again, just want to thank the community for sending in your pictures. A lot of great viewers sending in beautiful shots like this one. So as we head throughout the rest of the day today, it's going to be a pretty gorgeous day. Just a slight chance of a sprinkle or two as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon. But we do have those gorgeous cumulus clouds and lots of blue sky as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon. And as we look towards the later hours, we'll dip into the lower 80s with plentiful sunshine as we head towards 8 p.m. So no severe weather to worry about tonight. You can sleep peacefully as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon and into the overnight hours. Doppler max right now, you can see some of those cumulus clouds just cruising along the viewing area right now. We're pretty calm compared to yesterday at this time. These will just continue to move across the viewing area. We don't have too much to worry about except for a shower, especially if you're up to the north. Temperatures right now, we're rather hot out there right now. Not ideal for some of those folks that lost power, especially for those in the upper 80s. That humidity a little bit down today since we did have that cold front move through last night, but some of us still in the 80s. 84 in Bowling Green, a little bit cooler as we look off to the east to 79 in Edmonton and Campbellsville as well. Dew points still kind of on the high side though. 63 in Bowling Green, 61 in Russellville, as well as Franklin. So still a little bit on the high side, but not terrible. Future Max is going to take us through the rest of your Monday afternoon and into the overnight hours. Not too bad as far as rain-wise, just maybe a couple of sprinkles, but still no severe expected as we head throughout the next couple of days or so. It'll be nice and sunny over the next couple of days. Hot weather, though, is expected as we head into the next 7 days or so. Looking into your Tuesday, a high of 86. It's going to feel like summer out there. Make sure you have the sunscreen, the hat, all of that. We haven't had too much sun in the past couple of weeks or so, so definitely going to want to be packing that as we look into the rest of your Tuesday. Plentiful sunshine, a little bit like today with that temperature staying in the middle to upper 80s. And as we look through the next 7 days or so, we have a couple of dry days on your Tuesday and Wednesday with highs in the middle to upper 80s. By the time we hit Thursday, those temperatures will start to skyrocket into the 90s, even the middle 90s, starting to show up on some data. We'll bring those showers back as we head into the late week. Thursday, a little break on Friday, but the weekend looking like the best chance for some of those rain showers. So you want to keep the rain gear as we head into the weekend and into your Monday. Gene?
Thank you, Dana. As severe storms made their way through the area last night, many woke up this morning to damaged homes and property. Now, cleanup is underway. WBKO's Derek Parham is in Smiths Grove, where residents are working throughout the storm's aftermath. Hey, Derek, how you doing?
Hey there, Gene. As far as damages over here in Smiths Grove, I talked with Mayor David Stiffy earlier today, and he let me know that there have been no reported injuries or casualties, which is a positive so far. However, as you can see behind me over here, the major concern today, other than power outages, has been uprooted trees all over the city, causing property damage. Now, I've seen plenty of neighbors out helping each other to clean up debris today, but it does seem like a full recovery is going to take some time. I talked to a few people around the neighborhood and some local business owners, and it sounds like there were plenty of crews on hand working through the night to at least get roads and sidewalks cleared ahead of time.
Middle of the night, I heard chainsaws and tractors clearing off the street because our street had 3 big trees that came down, and whether it was the locals or the county itself, but they clear out the road, so we have one lane people can get in and out of.
Now, as far as those power outages go, it does seem like there are still quite a few homes without electricity, and after speaking with Mayor Stiffy, it doesn't seem like there's much of a timeline for when those will be back on. Now, I have seen crews working today trying to get those back online, but again, a full recovery is going to take some time just because of those uprooted trees falling down on those power lines. We'll keep you updated here, but for now, reporting in Smiths Grove, Derek Parham, WBKO News. Back to you.
Thank you, Derek. The Barron River Animal Welfare Association in Glasgow is yet again cleaning up after significant flooding. The animal shelter is located in a low-lying area just off Roseville Road and Trojan Trail. Broward General Manager Connie Green.
National Weather Service confirms an EF2 tornado hit Hardin County last night. It's believed that tornado hit with wind speeds up to 115 miles per hour. Reporter David Mattingly talks with a surprised couple at what's left of their home.
Through the porch, there was debris everywhere.
It was a home they built together 17 years ago, and it was ripped apart in the blink of an eye.
It was like standing in a blender. Glass, insulation, everything just swirling in 10 seconds, 12 seconds at the most, and it quit.
John Key and Cezanne Davis barely had time to hit the floor when out of the darkness, a tornado ripped the roof off of their house and turned their lives upside down.
I went towards the closet and he went towards another closet, and we were just screaming. I was screaming at him to take cover because I knew I couldn't get to him and he couldn't get to me.
You were sitting right here.
Yes.
Look, this window's blowing out. Somehow, both made it out without injury. Monday afternoon, we find the first floor of the home littered with piles of insulation and shards of shattered glass. Outside, crews work to replace a broken utility pole. The tornado also took the wall off of the garage. This used to be a covered back porch, but that was taken off and blown about 100 yards this way into this field. There was also a covered front porch on the house. That ended up being blown about 100 yards this way into that field. This is an awful lot to take in.
Yeah, it sure is. It was, it kind of hit me about 3 o'clock this morning. You know, this is the end of June. We'll be lucky to have a house by Christmas.
The tornado did more than take the roof. It ripped away key supports. Damage to the house is so extensive, Key and Davis fear it may be a total loss. But in the aftermath, I find they still have reason to smile.
We can replace all this.
Can't replace each other. You know, we're doing this interview from here and not in a hospital or a morgue, so.
Well, the National Weather Service sent out a team to survey damage here in Warren County as well.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight for News 40 at 5. I'm Morgan Hoover. We start tonight with a first look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett. Scott, a lot nicer out there today than we saw last night.
Yeah, it was an active, busy night last night, noisy night for a lot of folks, not to mention the damage that we saw across the area. Right now, they're much calmer. Kat Robinson in Glasgow says it's 89, lots of sunshine, and she's getting a very gentle breeze, about 2 to 3.5 miles an hour. So a lot different than last night. As far as temperatures across the area are concerned, we're warm. We're just not humid. Look at that. Bowling Green 88 drops off a little bit into the low 80s as you go in the outlying areas. Edmonton 81, Munfordville 83. And as far as the radar is concerned, not seeing anything on the radar right now. We've cleared out nicely. That planner for tonight, we're going to stay clear tonight and actually not cooling down too much after that front went through. Look at this. By midnight, we're just down in the low 70s. We got some serious heat to talk about, though, this week, Morgan. I'll be back in a bit to discuss that.
All right. Thank you, Scott. We start off with our top story tonight as we recoil from the severe storms that rampaged through the southern states last night, leaving many in Kentucky without power, some even dealing with the effects of some flash flooding. Barron and Edmonson County saw some of the worst of the storm, while places like Louisville are dealing with the aftermath of strong winds and hail. Officials are working around the clock to address the damages across the Commonwealth. Fortunately, there have been no reported casualties from the events of last night's storms. News 40 will keep you updated as more details become available. And we mentioned the power outages. Right now, crews are continuing to work to restore power across south central Kentucky. In Warren County, it seems power has been restored to most neighborhoods. Now, this is after many people dealt with outages throughout most of the night. We're still seeing a few outages in places like Barron County, lots of outages in Edmonson County and Hart County. Crews say they are working diligently to get power restored. And local parks, they suffered a bit of damage as well. I want you to take a look at this video. Ed Spear Park is closed for damage cleanup today through Wednesday. You can see in this video, lots of trees and limbs down. Trees have fallen on the park's basketball and tennis courts, on top of benches and pavilions. We just saw some limbs in some of the swings. Warren County Parks and Recreation says to avoid the area while crews work to clean up this debris. Mammoth Cave National Park had to make some changes today following the severe weather. Cave tours are modified and the Green River Ferry is closed until further notice. A portion of the cave has also lost electricity, and internet services are still down at the concessions and administrative areas. Park trails are still open, but they've not been surveyed for downed trees, so be careful if you do decide to go for a hike. Crews are working to get the park fully operational as quickly as possible. Well, more local news now. If you plan on being on the roads this 4th of July weekend, law enforcement officials, they want you to be safe. The Warren County Sheriff's hard at work in the Weather Center. He's both looking at our forecast and I think planning for that belly flop competition, trying to pick the best weather day for that, right, Scott? Yeah. We'll be back with a full look at our forecast and maybe his belly flop predictions right after this.
WNKY News 40.
Well, Scott, reports of damage from last night's severe weather, they are continuing to come into our
Yes.
newsroom. I want you to take a look at some of this video to look at ping-pong-sized hail hitting a roof in Louisville yesterday afternoon. Thunderstorm warnings, high winds. Of course, we saw that here. Power outages are widespread across the Commonwealth. Many communities still dealing with power outages. But look at that hail hitting the roof yesterday.
And you know, that was mild compared to what happened just to the east. Places along I-75 Madison County, reports of baseball-sized hail.
Oh, gosh.
As bad as that is, and it's horrible, there were reports of houses, their windows being broken. Can you imagine sitting around in your living room, a baseball-sized chunk of ice comes through the window during a storm? The forecast models, though, predicted this pretty nicely. And even though we don't want this to happen, we had a good heads up, and it went exactly the script, if you want to call it that. So some good news on that point as far as being able to warn people. And this kind of gives us a way to go on which models to believe in the programming of those models. So right now, looking at calmer weather, take a look at the current conditions right now. We're seeing the temperatures on the mild side, on the hot side even, 88. This is why I said it was a cool front that went through last night, not a cold front. The only thing we've lost is the humidity, 47% humidity, winds out of the west, and it's been breezy out there, 16 miles an hour from the west. So we're not seeing a lot of humidity, but that dew point is climbing back up. This is calm compared to what the dew point is going to be later this week. Just wait until we get some more humidity in here. Barometric pressure, by the way, is steady right now. As far as those temperatures, pretty much everywhere in the 80s. You get close to the city where there's more concrete and buildings. Of course, 88 in Bowling Green, but 82 in Munfordville, 84 in Glasgow. Off to the west, a little more heat, kind of along the Kentucky-Tennessee border, is swinging off to the west. We get those 85s, and look at Elkton, 87. So Elkton gets the prize for the warm spot, according to the Kentucky Mesonet. Yeah, cooler, especially west of I-75 compared to this time yesterday. Of course, yesterday was very hot, brutally hot by some standards, and that just fed those storms as they rolled into the area. I mentioned the low humidity, so orange.
For general admission with a coupon from participating Wendy's locations, visit beachbend.com.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight for News 40 at 6. I'm Morgan Hoover. We start tonight with a first look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burgett. Scott, a lot calmer out there right now than it was last night.
A lot calmer, almost as hot as it was yesterday, though. Temperature is not trending too much cooler than yesterday. Looking at 89 degrees the high, that's exactly where we should be. The morning low only down to 70, and that's a couple degrees above average. Since midnight, nothing officially. The National Weather Service office, keep in mind, all this stuff pushed through mainly just before midnight as far as any official measuring capacity was concerned. And then in the southeastern portion of the viewing area, then that's when those storms continue to push through in the rest of the viewing area. As far as today's highs are concerned across the area, we're seeing slightly cooler temperatures, like I mentioned, really for everyone, but especially as you go east of I-65. That's where the cooler temperatures are compared to yesterday. Still made it up into the mid-80s in some areas. Russellville reporting 94. I have a feeling that might be a little bit of an error, but it's still, it is hot in Russellville, and we're looking at a clear radar right now. So good news there compared to, well, really what we were seeing last night. It was a very colorful radar. Not the case tonight. We're seeing much calmer conditions. We did have some rain off of the viewing area, places like Lexington, Cincinnati. We're not done with that rain just yet. We're going to talk about when the next rain chances arrive, and we got some summer-like heat. We'll talk about that in just a bit as well, Morgan.
All right, Scott, our top story tonight, the storms that ran through south central Kentucky last night left an impact on many homes and local businesses. News 40's Noah Fairburn spoke with two local business owners about the damage they suffered.
Two local businesses were hit hard by the devastating storms last night. Grant's Farm Produce in Warren County suffered major damage to one of their houses.
I was in my place, which is about 8 miles away from here. I got phone calls and texts as it was hitting, and it was pretty serious through their texts and their phone conversations. I knew it was bad. I just didn't know until I got down here this morning really how bad it was.
Richard says this isn't the first time his property has been hit.
One house got hit house number 3 got hit about 4 years ago, about 20,000 damage on it. A tree came down and hit it. Other than that, just about 4 months ago, we got the front porch knocked off the big house. The winds have been crazy this year. I don't understand it. I really don't.
In Barron County, Happy Valley Road was flooded throughout the night, while owner Roger Albright was at his Quick Stop shoe store.
I was here at 1 o'clock this morning. I came down to check and make sure that there wasn't any damage on the inside of the store. And when I got here, there's a couple of cars out in the street that are stalled. And this is the highest. I've been here 28 years, and this is the highest I've ever seen the water get.
Roger has one simple message for anyone in the community that wants to help out.
There's a lot of people around here that I know, I've heard, that had their basement flooded. And if you see somebody in need, jump in and help them out.
In South Central Kentucky, because local matters, Noah Fairburn, WNKY News 40.
All right, Noah, these storms causing a lot of power outages across the area. Right now, crews are continuing to work to restore power across south central Kentucky. Take a look at this. In Warren County, it seems power has been restored to most neighborhoods. This is after many people dealt with outages throughout the night. We're still seeing a few outages in places like Barron County, lots of outages in Edmonson County and Hart County as well. Crews say they are working diligently to get the power restored. Local parks suffered a bit of damage as well. Take a look at this video. Ed Spear Park is closed.
We head over the next 13 hours or so, but we'll expect dry skies as we head throughout the rest of the week, as well temperatures nearing 90 degrees. I'll talk about when we'll see those temperatures near the middle 90s coming up in my full forecast.
Thank you, Dana. Right now, people across South Central Kentucky are cleaning up the damage caused by last night's storms. From animal shelter experiencing flooding to multiple trees down at 2 parks, we now take a look at our team coverage of the storm damage and cleanup efforts in South Central Kentucky. Allie?
Yeah, that's right, Gene. We have had reporters all over our area today checking out that damage and talking to residents about last night's storms. We first take a look at the damage over in Barron County. Significant flooding and storm damage was noted across Glasgow and the county today. Crews with Farmers RECC and Glasgow EPB continue to work restoring power and internet services to people in the area. A Shell station just off of Burtsville Road in East Glasgow suffered major damage after its awning collapsed on top of several gas pumps. Beaver Creek Park was also mostly underwater this morning. Emergency management officials tell us they have helped a handful of stranded motorists and people in homes overnight impacted by floodwaters. More damage is expected to be noted as waters continue to recede. And staff at one animal shelter in Barron County continue to work clearing mud and other debris from the shelter after last night's storms. The Barron River Animal Welfare Association suffered significant flooding last night. Shelter staff say this isn't the first time a major flooding event has disrupted operations there. General Manager Connie Greer says she left her house last night once flooding began and headed to the shelter to check on the animals.
My heart just broke. The dogs were still in their kennels and they're crying, and there was nothing I could do. The water was clear up to my chest. and it was dark and there were no lights and no power. So I called to everyone that I could to get down here, but at that point we waded across the water, got the animals up to higher ground, and then we just waited it out until it receded.
And BROA is asking the community to donate cleaning supplies, and details about those donations will be up on our website. Now on to Warren County. 2 parks are closed today after the storms caused several trees to fall. Warren County Parks and Rec Director Chris Kummer says the park saw substantial damage, the majority of which is trees, but also included damage to the athletic complex, hand washing stations, portable restrooms, and sanitizing restrooms. As far as any events that are scheduled for the day, Kummer says all of the night events will be canceled because of the damage to the complex area, but the one at Ephraim White Park Gym will continue as planned tonight. If you have any questions, you can call the office number 270-842-5302. Closures and cancellations are also posted on the Warren County Parks and Rec Facebook and Instagram pages. Ed Spear Park is also closed for the day. Continuing with storm damages in Smiths Grove, uprooted trees have crushed cars and some homes in the area. You can see there on your screen, while Mayor David Stiffy tells us there have been no reported injuries, there are still widespread power outages throughout the city. Crews have been working all day to get electricity back up and running to customers, but with the number of power lines taken out of those trees, recovery efforts may take some time. The police chief tells us that it'll be about 12 hours before power is back up citywide. And we also learned of storm damage at a local produce store.
That's right. Grant's Farm Produce on Louisville Road saw damage to houses on the property from fallen trees and damage to corn crops from the high winds. While the produce shop itself went untouched by the storm, downed trees have made it difficult for workers to get to the 18-acre garden section of the farm that is still recovering from the damage from the windstorms that came through the area in early March. One of the houses on the 42-acre property is the childhood home of co-owner Richard Grant, who didn't see the damage until he arrived at the farm this morning.
I was in awe when I came on the place, and I looked back behind me, and I think I counted 15 trees down in one spot. One house got crunched. My corn's laid over. I haven't even checked the stuff in the back. I'm lost for words. I mean, even thinking about it, I get emotional.
Grant says he won't ask for help, but would welcome anyone volunteering it.
It's one of those things that you leave it in God's hands and you wonder why. You just wonder why. I've never been one to ask for help. I'm not much on charity. I give, but I don't take. If anybody would like to come and help clean up, we would appreciate that, but I'm not asking for help. Yeah.
But if you do want to help clean up at Grant's Farm Produce, they are located at 5960 Louisville Road. And over in Edmonson County, WRECC is reporting nearly 70% of Edmonson County is still without power following last night's storm.
So Edmonson County Judge Executive Scott Lindsay says it's the trees that are the problem. Lindsay said he was out with several magistrates and other volunteers cutting trees down, blocking the roadways, but found issue with downed wires tangled in the branches. Lindsay said he's been working closely with Warren RECC to get power restored to the county, and while he doesn't have a timeline for when it will be back, he's been assured all hands are on deck. And community members say they're just biding their time.
I realize where we live, it's well out in the middle of.
Now, for Hardin County near Cecilia, there ended up being a preliminary rating of an EF2 tornado with 115-mile-an-hour winds from that storm that passed through there. So as far as places go in our viewing area, those are who saw those viewing of those damage surveys over the last couple of days. So expect those to be wrapped up in the next couple of days or so. Here's a look at those rainfall totals across our area over the last 24 hours as that big storm came through. The airport saw about 1/20th of an inch of rain. The Mesonet picked up about an inch, as well as the Morgantown Mesonet as well. Scottsville picking up nearly an inch of rain, as well as Glasgow picking up almost an inch and a quarter. Tompkinsville and Edmonton seeing the most out of this storm rainfall, with nearly 3 inches in Tompkinsville and 2 1/4 in Edmonton as well. Albany seeing almost an inch and a half. So quite a few of us got much needed rainfall as we were in that drought condition. Not necessarily going to fix that drought, but Much needed. Here's a picture of the lightning last night in Logan County, as well as some damage pictures coming in from Hardyville, Kentucky last night from Dawn Wright. A picture of a wall cloud in Drake, Kentucky last night, and then that formed into a possible funnel cloud, which could have led to some more damage with a possible tornado touchdown. So just a lot of damage going on in our area last night.
Thank you, Dana. These storms also caused power outages across the state and here in South Central Kentucky. PowerOutage.us reports over 48,000 customers without power across Kentucky. In South Central Kentucky, Edmonson County has the most outages reported in the area, with over 65% of their customers, or more than 5,000 people, without power. There are also over 5,000 people in Barron County without power. Grayson County has 4,700 people. In Hart County, there are over 2,000 customers without power right now, and Warren County reports more than 2,200 people without power.
Not only here in South Central Kentucky, but people across the region are cleaning up after yesterday's storms. In Jessamine County, people reported damaging winds and large hail last night. Those damaging winds toppled down trees, including this 100-year-old maple tree. It fell on headstones at Maple Grove Cemetery in Nicholasville. City spokesperson says 4 headstones are in need of repair, but that number could increase if workers remove more branches and more damage is discovered. Central Kentucky residents hunkered down last night as winds and hail battered roofs, doors, and windows. One apartment complex that's only 2 years old was left with 142 broken windows, with most of the damage concentrated on the south side of the buildings. Thankfully, no injuries were reported there, and crews worked today to repair that damage. And in Indiana, damage assessment is underway in a town near Indianapolis after a suspected tornado touched down yesterday. You can see the video there on your screen. The storm hit in the Bargersville area. The town's fire chief says the suspected twister cut a path of about 3 miles and left at least 75 homes damaged, but no one was injured, luckily. An emergency shelter has been set up at a local middle school for people left homeless from that storm. The National Weather Service says in a survey, team will inspect the damage to determine if it, in fact, a tornado did hit that area.
This stock market report is brought to you by the Retirement Planning Specialist.
Later tonight. You know, I love me some good GMA in the morning. Robin, George, Michael, and GMA. Now that's how you start your day. Good morning, America.
WHAS 11, Weather First.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Ben Pine with your weather first. We had some isolated showers and thunderstorms earlier. They're now gone. Just a few leftover showers off to our northeast. We have a couple of quiet, nice, comfortably warm days on the way. A couple of days to clean up from some of the severe weather we had last night. And then we are back with the heat and the storm chances. I'll be timing out that next round of strong thunderstorms coming up on our complete First Alert Storm Team forecast. WHS 11 night team starts now.
Right now on the WHAS 11 night team, the tale of the storm recovery tonight. One East End neighborhood street trapped, surrounded by downed trees.
It just sounded like more like a kind of a boom, but it sounded like the trains were going really fast.
In other areas, homes destroyed by falling trees and downed power lines. New updates from the National Weather Service and LG&E tonight. Also ahead, the devastating hail. And then, a memorial's growing near Waterfront Park after a motorcyclist loses her life late Saturday night. Right now on the WHAS 11 night team.
Breaking news first here on the WHAS 11 night team. Hello, everybody. I'm Doug Profit. Police are looking for suspects in 2 separate shootings just minutes apart that have left 2 men dead tonight. Major Nick Owen with the Louisville Metro Police Department says the first call came in at about 7:15 tonight at 10th and Broadway. That is at the Platinum Food Mart. When officers arrived, they found a man with gunshot wounds who died at the scene. The man was outside when police arrived, but investigators are still working to find out whether the shooting happened inside the food mart or outside of it. Right now, there are no suspects in this shooting near downtown Louisville. And then about 15 minutes later, officers were called to this scene at 26 and Madison Streets. That's also in the Russell neighborhood. When they got there tonight, they found a man who had been shot. He died at the scene. Right now, they have no suspects, and Major Owen says they need people to come forward to help them with information.
This occurred in broad daylight, a heavily trafficked area. So I'm pretty confident there are witnesses. I would encourage those witnesses to step forward, contact 574 LMPD, and give us any information you can to help us make an arrest in this case.
Right now, we've also learned police say they don't believe the shootings are related. Investigators are asking anybody with information about either one of these shootings to help their detectives by leaving an anonymous tip. The number to call is 574 LMPD. You can also provide information through the police department's online portal. New on the WHAS 1119, the storm recovery continued well after sundown tonight. In fact, we found one East End street paralyzed with storm damage so bad there's no way in or out of it, and that's off Ormsby Lane between Linden and Middletown. WHAS 1119's Taylor Woods and photojournalist Ian Hardwick are live in that area again tonight with an update on how things are going there. Taylor, I see a lot of activity there behind you.
Well, yes, Doug, we're certainly standing outside of that subdivision. Earlier today, LG&E, AT&T, and a lot of crews and tree service crews were actually on site working hard to restore customers' power. If you take a look behind me, you can see that crew service still remains on scene tonight. And taking a look at the debris left over from the storm, you can see that there are broken tree limbs, even this power line. Now, again, those crews remain on scene tonight, working hard to restore power. And last time we checked, LG&E is expected to have power restored in this area by 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Reporting live in Linden, Taylor Woods, WHAS 1119 on your side.
All right there, high above you tonight. Thank you very much, Taylor. 11 o'clock tomorrow night, still 24 hours to go. The following storm surveys throughout the day, the National Weather Service has confirmed 2 tornadoes not far from Louisville. In northeast Du Bois County, Indiana, crews reported a preliminary EF1 tornado that weakened from an EF2 in neighboring Martin County, Indiana. Now, an EF2 tornado with winds up to 115 miles per hour was reported also in the small Hardin County, Kentucky community of Cecilia. The Weather Service says straight line winds caused damage also in southern Floyd County and in Bullitt County. Again, straight line winds there. In Hardin County, the high winds flattened cornfields, ripped off rooftops, and even lifted up vehicles. The National Weather Service says the flattening of the corn and the direction in which debris was scattered are key indicators of a tornado. It is something homeowner John Key also observed.
A front porch ended up in the backyard, and part of the back patio ended up in the front yard. There's definitely a tornado. The corn's laying down 2 different directions, and you can tell it was swirling.
But we're glad to report no injuries reported in Hardin County. In the midst of the peak tourist season, the historic West Baden Springs Resort Hotel was hit hard when large hail moved through that area of Indiana. You guessed it, that is the sound of the hail hitting that dome guests and employees heard inside the West Baden Springs Hotel in West Baden, Indiana, as the baseball-sized hail hit the historic atrium. People on their summer vacations got a lot of frustration today as nearly 1,500 flights were canceled due to the severe weather impacting the major cities all along the East Coast. That's the scene in Buffalo, New York tonight as the big severe weather system that hit us so hard today moved east. ABC News has more on the impacts from New York to South Carolina.
Deadly tornadoes churning through the nation's heartland. At least 20 reported tornadoes in Iowa, Minnesota, and Indiana, where authorities say the violent weather killed at least 1 person. Multiple twisters touching down across the state. Watch as this tornado intensifies within seconds in the city of Greenwood, Indiana, destroying multiple houses. In the town of Bargersville,
altogether, we're probably looking at roughly 3 miles damaged.
This housing development ripped apart in Little Rock, Arkansas. Officials say 2 people were killed after a tree fell on this mobile home following a storm Sunday. Forecasters say approximately 60 million Americans are now under a severe weather threat, and there have been more than 800 severe weather reports over the past 3 days. Meanwhile, at least 9 states from Arizona to Mississippi are under heat alerts. Texans are bracing for another grueling week in the heat. Triple-digit temperatures expected again for much of the state. A father and his 14-year-old stepson died while hiking in Texas's Big Bend National Park.
To the area today, Looking from New Albany, so opposite of the sunset, the last bit of sun was catching some of those clouds out there, those cumulonimbus clouds in the distance over the city skyline. Nice view here from Duke Marsh, another snapshot around Kentuckiana. A Big 4 rainbow this evening after that shower passed on by. Thank you, Jennifer Eldridge, for sharing that one to our Kentucky Indiana Cloud Watchers page. And just a gorgeous sunset here near Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Sherry Mathers often sharing those great photos. Max HD radar and satellite showing a couple showers still persisting off to our east on the very tail end of that storm system, but we are mainly dry now over Kentuckiana as our showers have faded away. Partial clearing for tonight, and low temperatures will drop down to the low and mid 60s. Should be a nice start to our Tuesday tomorrow. And tomorrow, notice the flow comes in from the northwest. That'll
It's woke up to the destruction.
I got a really good family. I got really good friends. I got faith. We're all good.
Their concern was rebuilding for who was in the way.
I got up this morning, I said a prayer, and then I went to work, just like my mom and dad taught me.
With photojournalist Dominic Furman, Dalton Godby, WDRB News.
What an attitude amidst all the damage. In Louisville's East End, toppled trees and downed power lines left thousands without power. We talked with this woman who lives there, and she says she was putting her baby to bed when the first part of the storm hit. That's when part of a tree broke off and fell onto the window where 3 young children were watching the storm. And while that...
I mean, you hold your palm out and imagine a piece of ice that big sitting in your hand. And that's what was falling from the sky, which was just shredding apart roofs and also siding in that area. So thankfully, we have some quiet weather the next couple of days to start the cleanup process. But obviously, it's going to take a lot longer than that. Storm UHD scanning the skies, taking its laps, not finding any more of those hit or miss downpours that we dealt with this evening. And the rest of the night looks dry. Skies have cleared out. Just a few clouds dotting the sky here or there. And with skies clearing out and all that ground moisture, some areas of patchy fog may develop by first thing tomorrow. Nothing all that thick or dense, but keep an eye out for some low visibilities. 75, your current temperature in the city. Dew point down to 62 with a northwest wind around 7 miles an hour. All in all, it's a mild and a muggy night. No rainfall. Mostly clear at midnight, 71. Down to 68 by 3 o'clock in the morning. Bottoming out at 65. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:21 a.m. And the heat will not stay away. It is summer after all. Talk about when heat index values approach the century mark, plus timing out our next chance for thunderstorms.
Thanks, Rick. New Albany could soon let people walk downtown with a beer from their favorite bar. WDRB's Katrina Nickel explains the legal details, though the city still has to work out.
This new ordinance would allow...
The floor is renovated.
Now, your WLKY weather with meteorologist Mo Rose.
All right, we're looking at a loop of the last few hours for those folks who may have gotten a little downpour around dinner time. That is still from the same storm that we had yesterday. I just want to give you the big picture here. We had the cold front move through, but it's the low that's way off to the north and a little east of us. It's spinning, and the bands, those outer bands, they stretch over us, and that's what's dropped us a few showers, couple of rumbles of thunder. There was nothing severe about them, but just enough to be annoying. Now, those are on their way out of here, but I will say that storm did pack quite a punch yesterday. Take a look. The National Weather Service was out doing surveys. We already have one EF2 tornado in Hardin County right by Cecilia, and that had winds at least 115 miles per hour. And then straight line wind damage in Bullitt County with winds between 90 and 100 miles per hour. And I wanted to show you another product that we have. And it's kind of tough to see, but do you see these little dots everywhere? That is wind damage from yesterday's storm, and they are everywhere across the region. And it has still caused trouble with folks and their power. It's knocked out power to over 30,000 people at one point. Now we are much better off. 4,000 still in the metro, 400 in Oldham County, 300 in Bullitt, 100 folks still without power in Hardin County, 4,000 still without power in Grayson County. So power companies are out there doing their best to try and get those lines back up. So please be patient, and eventually we'll get everyone back in working order. At least the weather has calmed down since then. Right now we're sitting at 75 degrees, just a couple of passing clouds. Now around the viewing area, we're seeing a mix of upper 60s and low 70s. Still quite warm in Munfordville at 73 degrees. We're at 70 in Charlestown, upper 60s in Scott County, 69 in Taylorsville, 69 there in Springfield. Now, if you see those numbers in the 60s tomorrow morning, just know it'll be upper 60s in the metro, but mid and lower 60s outside of the city. Looking at the futurecast, so we have a little bit of that rain still trying to hang about. This is gone over the next couple of hours. In fact, the clouds, we're going to take that with it too. We're going to have a nice, quiet start to your Tuesday morning. Lots of sunshine to welcome you when you wake up. And then eventually, I think we're going to see a few more clouds start to stream in, but that's not until later in the afternoon. It'll be high, thin clouds, and we're going to stay dry. In fact, we're going to stay dry the next couple of days. So it'll be a nice change after the last couple of days that we've had. Now, as we go ahead into tonight's forecast, those skies will continue to clear out. I think we'll be comfortable. 68's not too bad when you wake up tomorrow morning. Now, outside of the city, we tend to be cooler, so you may see 62, 63 out there. Now, the rest of your Tuesday, not too bad. We're going to start to increase. The temperatures will be around 77 by noon. 84, that's going to be our high for tomorrow. We'll see some increasing clouds later in the afternoon, and then we'll start to drop in temperature in the low 80s, but still very nice. Not so nice is the impact weather coming later in the week. Hot and humid weather, that is coming back, and we are going to be feeling heat index values around 100 degrees, and that's also going to be fueling some storms as we get closer to the weekend. Some may be a little on the stronger side. So looking at that 7-day forecast, let me break this down for you. We'll start to warm up by Wednesday, a little more sunshine, a high of 87. And then 90 on Thursday. We're also turning up the humidity, and that's going to fuel some showers and storms late day. And then Friday and Saturday, we're going to be dodging scattered storms and also trying to find some relief from that heat. 93 is going to feel like 100 because of the humidity, and also probably on Saturday as well. On Sunday, we're dialing back the temperature. We'll hold on to the chance for some isolated showers. And then on Monday, that's July 3rd, I know a lot of fireworks shows start to kick off. I mean, hey, I've already started hearing the fireworks in the neighborhood the other day, but still, just know it's looking dry at this point. We still have time for things to change, but just letting you know, July 3rd doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, we're going to be sweating this weekend now, huh?
We will. Make sure you're staying hydrated.
There you go. Thanks, Mo.
You're welcome.
Still ahead here at 11, the Topper's new boss visits the WLKY studios. Kent Taylor, next with sports.